expressed on the following program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership.
Arizona, this is Brother Mike. I'm back on the radio, hardcorechristianity.com. Welcome to the program. We're still together after 17 years. Can you imagine that? Today's Bible study, Mega Church Madness on Filthy Fridays on Hardcore. Call somebody quickly and tell them the radio program's on. This one's going to blow your mind. Psychology and different personalities today on Hardcore. This is Brother Mike. I'm the professional counselor at the Arizona Deliverance Center. Professional counselor, what's that? Well, come and find out. But I've been in the counseling field now for 37 years. Can you imagine that? I teach every Friday night at 7 p.m. Pacific time and 7 p.m. Arizona time. For my radio listeners, we also have a healing and deliverance service after the teaching every Friday. Thursday night, 7 p.m. is our healing room. It's booming. Got all kinds of people coming. The moving of the Spirit is something to behold. If you don't need to be healed or delivered, come to the service anyway and sit in and watch the Holy Spirit move. You can learn a lot by watching the Spirit of God move, because 99% of churches in Maricopa County do not have the Holy Spirit moving at all. Zero. Nothing. Thursday night, 7 o'clock, also is our mental illness healing class for Christians who have mental illnesses. You can be cured. You can be healed. I have seen dozens and dozens and dozens of mentally ill Christians completely cured. 7 p.m. Thursday night in the small sanctuary. On the website, we got everything there. My teachings Friday night is streamed on our YouTube teaching channel and on my Facebook page, Michael W. Smith. Next free seminar, the Gifts of the Spirit. Sign up for it. Hit the PayPal button. Send us another donation. You've been doing that for 17 years. Thank you. Thanks for all your referrals to Sister Karen. She's on the homepage of the website. And I am on the internet now every night of the week, 7 nights a week at 9 p.m. Pacific time and Arizona time on darkskyradio.com on the internet. We're ministering to usually over 20,000 people a week. We have had a tremendous blessing there. Mega Church Madness. Check this out. James chapter 1 verse 8, quote, "A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways." Okay, that's James chapter 1 verse 8. This Greek word, dipsychos, for double-minded is only used twice in the entire New Testament and only used in the book of James. Dipsychos means somebody that has two souls. You are born with a God-given soul. Your soul is where your emotions come out of. Your soul is the seat of the emotions. The mind is the seat of the thoughts. Correct? Your container or your suitcase in life is your body, which contains your inner man made up of 4 parts: soul, spirit, mind, and conscience. That's what the Bible teaches human beings are made out of. A dipsychos is someone that has 2 souls or an altered personality. Have you ever met a Christian with an altered personality? You better believe you had. One minute you're talking to this person, they seem perfectly rational and they're fine, and the next minute, click, something switched to another personality. It's unbelievable. You may be married to a dipsychos, and I tell you what, those people are hard to live with. James chapter 4, verse 8, "Draw nigh to God, he will draw nigh to you." Who's he writing to here, sinners or Christians? Correct, Christians. "Draw nigh to God, you Christians, and he will draw nigh to you. Cleanse your hands, you sinners. Purify your hearts, you double-minded dipsychos." You Christians with 2 souls. Sinners, the Greek word is harmatalos. It means someone who practices sin. It's a Greek adjective. He's describing a Christian who is practicing sin. He's not talking about an unsaved person. But they are double-minded. They have multiple personalities. For example, Harvest Bible Chapel in Chicago. recently has gone through a gasping meltdown. This is a mega church in Chicago with multiple locations. And it's my understanding that the pastor, James McDonald, I guess actually took this church from virtually nothing and turned it into a gigantic, thousands of people attend Harvest Bible Chapel. But unfortunately, all these people that became involved in this church and supported this pastor did not know they were facing a dipsychus, a person with another personality inside his body. He was a person with two souls. Here's the short version of the story. This James McDonald was on the radio. They had a shock jock on the radio there in Chicago, and supposedly this James McDonald led this guy to the Lord. Okay? And he was on his program, and they were his radio program, and during a break, they were talking about some of the people who were against this pastor and who were attacking him and were criticizing him. They had left the church and they were claiming that the church wasn't what it claimed to be. Well, James McDonald, not knowing that the mic was still on, started to say some horrific things about these people. And one of the things he said he was going to do to one of the guys who was criticizing him was upload kiddie porn on his computer. Well, if you upload kiddie porn on somebody's computer, you've literally wiped out their entire life. The crimes and the punishment for kiddie porn are far worse than murder. If you're staring at a naked child on your computer, that's worse than murdering the child. If you murdered the child, you'd probably get 10 to 20 years in prison. If you got kiddie porn on your computer, you could end up going to prison for life. For life. Well, what happened was this James McDonald, who was a dipsychus and had a vicious temper, and he was your typical megachurch pastor, your typical TV preacher. He was squandering staggering amounts of money in this church, and people were leaving the church disillusioned, and they were ratting on him. They were ratting on the guy. For example, he went on a mission trip. He came back and he said, "Hey, I'm exhausted. I need a vacation." Well, the church gave him $5,000 for a vacation, and he went to Africa, and he decided he wanted to shoot a high-value African animal. And of course, if you're rich and you go over there, the Africans will sign you up for thousands of dollars to go shoot, a lion or whatever. Well, he wanted to shoot a sable, but they were going to charge him $20,000. So the elder of the church said, "Well, he had so much stress on this missions trip. We'll go ahead and give him the money." Well, this whole thing went on and on and on. And I've seen this before. I've had mega church pastors come to me for counseling, or I've had board members on mega churches come to me. I know what goes on in churches, not only all over the valley, but all over the United States, because as a counselor, you get information nobody else gets. Duh. They come in, they talk to me, and of course I keep all the information that's shared with me in confidence, but I still get the information and I see how these churches operate on the inside, and people give me inside information on pastors and ministers, not only all over Phoenix, but other states as well. Well, after that hot mic incident, the guy that the radio personality that he had led to the Lord and baptized in the River Jordan, his name was Mancow Mueller, turned on him and has now become one of his worst enemies, and actually got the pastor fired because all these horrible things started to come out about his $1 million salary and about all the money that he used from the church and squandered it on living the high life. In the meantime, they were cutting salaries and cutting expenses of the church left and right because James MacDonald had run the church into, I don't know, 30 or 40 or $50 million in debt. The church was tens of million dollars in debt. He was filtering money out left and right and cutting the salaries and expenses on the ministry staff, and the elders were going along with it, and they supported him. Now listen to me. Every time there's a scandal in a church with a pastor or a minister or a TV preacher or a mega church or what have you, there's always a group of people around them that are enablers. They're supporting the person because they feed off that person's riches. They feed off of it. They get paid off this person, so they keep it going. For example, this James MacDonald green-lighted the church to give him $40,000 to put up a fence for a deer herd at their Camp Harvest location, their retreat in Michigan. In the meantime, at the headquarters of the main church in Chicago, they were cutting out all kinds of things to save money because the church was so heavily in debt, which included they cut out paying for coffee and water dispensers for the ministry staff. They got rid of them because it was too expensive. And in the meantime, this guy was spending $40,000 for a fence for a deer herd. And you can imagine what has happened to the church since. MacDonald got fired, and almost everybody that was enabling him on the church board either got fired or they resigned. Okay? It's absolutely unbelievable. All these people have come forward to testify as to all the tens of thousands of dollars that this minister wasted, how horribly he treated the staff, and what kind of a terrible temper he had, particularly with bitterness and anger toward his enemies. Here's another kicker. Excuse me, the Evangelical Council for Financial Accountability, the ECFA, had previously certified this church as financially accountable. Really? Well, this thing broke out, and the ECFA president, Dan Busby, said that they will be reviewing the allegations. Somebody needs to review Dan Busby and the Evangelical Council for Financial Accountability. There you go. Can you imagine that? These people are stealing money hand over fist, and I've been in the ministry for years now and have never even taken a salary. You will know them by their fruits.
The views expressed on this program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership. This program was sponsored by Michael W. Smith.